Actually, the biggest dinosaurs only ate plants.
So it's 2019, and the continuing battle on nutritional guidelines just continues to rage. The latest offensive is the Eat Lancet Commission on Food, Planet, and Health. Now, this whole plant-based diet is not really new. Well, yeah, it kind of is. I mean, they didn't really spout this nonsense until the 1970s when they changed the nutritional guidelines. But here it is. And the thing is, we all want to be healthy, right? I mean, that's not in question, right? We all want to improve our health. We want to live longer. We want to have better quality of life. But somehow this commission, they think it's a good idea to recommend that we eat far less of our nutrient-dense meats in favor of nutrient-lacking vegetables, grains, sugars, and processed foods. Somehow, this commission, I think it's a good idea to exchange animal protein, which is highly bioavailable for humans, for much less nutrient dense and highly processed, lab created plant based meats. I say meats, Franken meats. So here we have these vegan billionaires that want to dictate to us little people what we can eat. I mean, after all, Bill Gates just loves this, I guess, meat, as we want to call it. Now, nothing sounds more delicious to me than, say, a giant cooker extruder pushing heated Franken meat through dyes like Play-Doh, pumping out your dinner to your plate straight from the lab. It's almost like we've forgotten about 2012 and the pink slime. You remember that pink slime at McDonald's that everybody was, freaking out about? Never mind that.
We no longer enslave animals for food purposes. You've seen something as fresh and tasty as meat, but inorganically materialized out of patterns used by our transporters.
Sickening. Barbaric.
So is your goal to eliminate animal protein altogether? Well, no. I mean, the commission has recommended, as much as 7 grams of meat a day. 7 whole grams. So you can have like a really small meatball of, say, ground beef or ground lamb every day. That's enough, right? And you can also indulge in 1.5 eggs every week, or about 0.2 eggs every single day. Wow, that's generous. Let's call it what it is, okay? This is a war on meat. And I'm not being conspiratorial here. This isn't my framing. This is from an article from The Spectator, very recent, by the way, and even to the point where they are giving the vegan community the advantage. They're winning comfortably. That's pretty amazing to me. And this is actually getting pretty mainstream now. So what happens if this goes unchecked? Well, they will start making it more difficult to purchase meat for the everyday person. Only the rich will be able to afford meat. I mean, they're already looking at taxing meat, substantially. They've already started this with sugary drinks, which sounds like a great idea, but it was kind of like a trial balloon. If we can do it on sugary drinks, then hey, maybe we can do it on other things that we don't want people to eat. We can control behavior via taxation. I do find it interesting that they do bring up the Department of Epidemiology, this type of studies to make comparisons as to when things get bad. And also, if you look at the CEO of Impossible Foods, which I think is the same company that does Beyond Meat, their whole mission is to replace the use of animals as food globally by 2035. That's only 16 years away for their goal. So we've got to step in and stop that, right? We really do. So what happens when you take away red meat or meat in general, but especially red meat? We've already seen what's happened. As the availability of red meat has greatly diminished, type 2 diabetes has taken off. I mean, talk about epidemiology. And it's hard to see the time frame on the top chart. So the lower one you can see since 1958, but it has skyrocketed since the late 90s, type 2 diabetes. So that's pretty amazing. But as I said, epidemiology aside, look at what's going on with our diet, and then you tell me that it is meat causing type 2 diabetes. Does that even make sense? I'm thinking not. So who is sponsoring this diabetes-inducing protocol? Well, it's an interesting mix of processed food, pharmaceutical, and social engineering firms. You see the biggies in there. You see Bayer, you see Cargill, Unilever, which is interesting because we're about to talk about them here in a moment. Good. I mean, it's really interesting stuff to see who's actually behind these. They've got to know that this is going to increase their bottom line, right? So if you're producing more processed foods seem to be resulting in more diabetes and chronic disease. Chronic disease requires more pharmaceuticals. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that these guys all have the best interest of the human population at heart, but it's hard to think that when you see what is happening to our health. So this war on meat will not be waged with guns, at least not right away. The first salvo was in pop culture, right? In movies and TV series. But now Unilever is using a weapon of persuasion on parents and children. So let's watch this. It's pretty well produced, apparently innocent cartoon that seems to be, the cartoon, it's commercial, but it seems to be directed at parents and kids. So let's take a look at this.
Oh, look, a hungry dinosaur!
Mom, dinosaurs only eat meat.
Actually, the biggest dinosaurs only ate plants. And did you know Country Crock is made with plants?
Country Crock has always been made with the goodness of plants. It has real, simple ingredients and that same delicious taste you love. Real country fresh taste made with the goodness of plants. Welcome to Crock Country.
So that was only a 30-second commercial, but man, was it packed full of stuff. And I gotta say one thing, it's packed full of persuasion. These guys did an A1 job of doing this, to take a 30-second piece and fit so many interesting things into it, as far as eye candy, as far as watchability, as far as things that are appealing. I mean, it starts off, look, I mean, you've got this beautiful valley. It looks like a farm in the area, in a neighborhood. I mean, it's just so appealing for, how natural is that? You see flowers in the foreground. This is a beautiful picture coming in, and yeah, it makes you happy. It's got happy music. I mean, you just can't go wrong with this. I mean, let's watch a little bit of this.
Oh, look!
Also, if you take a look at this, it starts off a little boy in a dinosaur costume coming in, roar, that already starting off with that alpha male, toxic male identity there, right? So first thing we got to do is we have to dissuade that, right? So mom's playful with him. Oh, look at the hungry dinosaur. Isn't that cool? Playing with the dog. That's nice. All right, moving on a little bit.
Hungry dinosaur!
Mom, dinosaurs only eat meat.
Actually,
All right, so the little boy, comes up with the incorrect message that all dinosaurs only eat meat, and mom is going to correct him and say, no, only the, not all of them, only the biggest ones only eat vegetables, which is very interesting because it's actually not untrue, right? The biggest dinosaurs, kind of like a lot of the biggest animals today, only eat plants, not necessarily what we would consider vegetables, by the way, plants, things that are inedible to humans, to carnivores in general. And the other thing that's about these herbivores that only eat plants, most of them have to eat, most of the time, 18 hours a day, and then even when they're not eating, they're still digesting. So it's pretty crazy stuff, yeah? All right, moving on.
Biggest dinosaurs only ate plants. And did you know Country Crock is made with plants?
Country Crock has always been made with the goodness of plants.
The goodness of plants. I just have to stop it right there because that's quite a statement. I mean, it's not about the healthful benefits of plants. No, the wording is the goodness of plants, as if plants have some intrinsic good about them as compared to animals. Got a little montage here you might be interested in watching when you think about the goodness of plants. So the funny part here is that plants themselves aren't even vegans. They eat animals. Matter of fact, all plants are dependent on death in order to be successful, to be able to procreate themselves, in order for the soil to work, for them to be able to grow. So death of animal matter is important to plants. It's part of the cycle. And plants don't want to be eaten either, right? They want to protect themselves. The poison ivy is not just, poisonous or reactive to animals just for the fun of it. It doesn't want to be eaten. And so it has developed a defense mechanism. So to call plants good is kind of interesting. I think that's an interesting way of putting it. Now, another thing, let's talk about that persuasion piece again here. So let me back this up right here and just watch.
Made with the goodness of plants. It has real.
Did you see how appealing that butter-like substance was in the pan as it melted and sizzled like butter would? I mean, they really want to capture the fat melting, the fat sizzling, as if it were butter or it were a healthy fat. Rather interesting. And then, of course, then you've got these nice bright greens and oranges, vegetables. Very, very eye-appealing as far as that goes. All right, so for the next segment here, I mean, there's a lot of material on this, right? You're going to see how this child will lovingly look at these vegetables and they just eat them like they were the best thing he ever had. Let's take a watch at this.
Ingredients and that same delicious taste you love.
So here, even you can see it right here. He's just staring at that piece of broccoli like, oh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever had. And it was like, that is just so delicious. I mean, I don't know how many children you've seen eating vegetables. I've had a couple myself. And as they were young, you basically taught them to appreciate vegetables over time. It wasn't something that comes naturally. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at some kids eating some vegetables in the real world. This probably explains why this is a cartoon and not real children in a commercial.
I don't want to eat a vegetable every day.
1, 2, 3. spit it out. You gotta eat it.
Eat it. I'm not spit it out, please.
Nope.
Please.
Swallow it. You better not.
Give it a try. See.
One more. Not all of it.
All right, show me how much you can eat.
Chew, chew, chew. Chew. Chew it, buddy. It's good. You did it last time. Go, go. Here.
Okay, one more thing about this is, and then it's they sneak it in here real quick. I'll play it for you real quick, and let's just see if you can catch it.
Country Crock has always been made with the goodness of plants. It has real simple ingredients and
All right, real simple ingredients. To me, that says, oh, it just has maybe 2 or 3 things in it. I beg to differ. Let's go ahead and show what real simple ingredients looks like. So the ingredients start off pretty good. Water. Ain't hurt nobody. Water's fine. But then it jumps right to the next highest percentage thing, which they classify as a vegetable oil blend. Starting right off the top, soybean oil. So we know soybean oil is one of these polyunsaturated fatty acids. Really high in omega-6, really bad for inflammation. So starting off with that. And the next one is palm oil and palm kernel oil. You know, I'm not sure about its omega-3 and omega-6 content, but what I am fairly confident in is that it isn't exactly the most sustainable product in the world. I mean, one of the biggest drivers for this Lancet or Eat Lancet study was supposed to be about planetary health. Well, what do we know about palm oil? What is the biggest complaint? Right here. Harvesting of palm oil is part of what's causing deforestation in Borneo and in that part of the world, maybe other places, many of these subtropical areas where they are ripping down forests so they can put palm oil into our processed foods. Again, not making any claims or problems with the health of the palm oil. It's just that we are ripping apart the environment so humans can eat palm oil. When we make all of these complaints about cattle causing problems for the environment, but then we displace a whole bunch of rainforest for something like this, seems a little hypocritical to me. Going on, salt, fine, whey, milk. Interesting. So they're using milk in it anyway. So instead of a dairy product, they're using milk in a non-dairy product. Fascinating. Then they have some vegetable mono and diglycerides, so some fats, some more polyglycerol esters, fatty acids, so some PUFAs. Then a few preservatives. Okay, you're getting preservatives to keep your food from going bad. All right. Some soy. All right. Soy again, another famous inflammatory. Lactic acid. Again, one of the reasons that we don't want dairy so much is for its lactose or lactic acid content. But here we are adding it back in, probably as a preservative, but just mentioning it. And then of course the next one would be the artificial flavor. What exactly does that mean? I have no idea, but there you go. Artificial flavor. They put some vitamins in it, vitamin A and beta carotene, mostly for color, and some vitamin D3. So instead of taking a product, say butter, for example, that already is full of nutrients and full of healthy fats. We're replacing it with an artificial, human-produced product using non-sustainable things. Putting milk in it anyway seems kind of counterintuitive to me, but who am I? I'm not the expert. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm just thinking that these are all not the best ways to introduce food into our bodies. So there you have it. There is my final analysis of this. It's again a well done commercial, well targeted, towards children, towards parents, telling you how good plants are, and how sizzling and beautiful that butter is, and how kids should love their vegetables. Again, no problem with vegetables. I think they're fine in moderation, but it's just interesting. It's really being driven as a replacement for meat. It's part of this war on meat we've been talking about. This, by the way, not a new commercial. This was released in 2017. But what drew my attention to it was this last week when the Lancet study came out. And then in the morning when we were watching the news, and it was just every time they took a news break, they played this commercial. So, it seems to be part of the strategy. I think on their side, it's a pretty good one. But let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you see anything. Again, it's only a 30-second spot, right? But if you see anything else in here that I missed, or if you see other commercials that are quite interesting, I would love to take some time to analyze these or get your notes. Or if you want to point another commercial to me that I can kind of look at and maybe do an analysis on, that would be kind of fun too, because this is kind of a fun video to do. All right, guys. So, hey, we are, again, want to let you know that what's important to us is that you guys are healthy, that you are eating the right types of foods, healthy fats, proteins, staying away from these polyunsaturated fats. We want you to make sure that you are eating, fatty cuts of meat and, non-starchy vegetables until you're full, staying under 20 grams of carbohydrates each day, and don't eat when you're not hungry. That is the key to everybody's health here. So thanks again for watching the videos, and if you stuck out to the end, great. Be sure and subscribe to our channel as we produce more videos, and hit the notification bell so you get notified when it's there.